Hello everyone, I'm here with the lovely Anna, and I just zipped her color off with my zebra sanding band and moved my Valentino because that always sits here and makes a lot of noise. And so I am going to do her full fill and glitter fade in real time for you all so you can see what's going on. She brought me lovely lilies the last time. They were good for like 3 weeks.
Hey.
They're so pretty. They're my favorite.
I was so afraid that you were going to close this. I kept listening to the governor. I'm like, please don't close. Please not before the 20th. Please.
Yeah, it was time to get back to work. Hey, Joanne. So, a quick push. I'm not doing a whole lot with this. Just wanting to get it lifted up a little bit. Most of the work's going to be done by my bit, so you don't need to spend a ton of time tugging and going crazy on your poor clients. All right, so I'm going to use the 2S bit. This is a pointed diamond bit. It's my favorite prep bit ever. It is available at lovenails.com. I get a lot of questions about that when I show this on YouTube, but it is available. Excuse me. Okay. It doesn't help to talk when you have a dry mouth. It's the normal issue these days. No one's getting enough water in. So what excuse me, sound all froggy. So what I like about this bit is that it really gets underneath the cuticle and lifts it up without having a big round ball at the end, where I feel like sometimes the ones that have a really big round ball, like say a Skyver bit, they tend to kind of eat up the cuticle a little bit instead of get underneath it, which is why I'm a huge fan of this one. And why, like I said, I just needed to push the cuticle back a little bit to lift it up. This bit is doing the rest of it. I'm not running it at full speed. That's full speed. I'm probably about half. So I guess 10, 15 RPM, something like that. I know in Europe they run all prep bits at full speed. It's totally up to you. I feel like I have more control about half speed. It's got a little bit of hangnail right there and a little bit over here. You can, because this is a diamond bit, it works like a sanding bit. So you can try to get in there and get some of those for them and smooth that out. Just be careful, of course, when you go on the skin, you're not there too long or it'll get hot. Jessica's watching. Hey, Miss Jess. I'm excited to see Miss Jessica White. I haven't seen her now since October, but we do have nail camp coming up in a few weeks, so we're finalizing tidbits for that, which is exciting. I know it's one of the only nail events happening this year. We're doing temperature checks and stuff on the way in, so everyone knows that everyone's good to go, and then we will proceed with classes and raffle prizes and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm just going to go through and see if there's anything just totally flapping in the wind here. Depending on where you live, of course, some people aren't allowed to do anything with cuticles, and I'm so very sorry to those customers. Can you imagine not being able to have your cuticles taken care of? Wouldn't that be sad?
That would be very sad.
There's some states where they don't let manicurists actually manicure.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous. If they're properly trained, then they should be allowed to manicure their poor clients. So I have some that, you know, that's the main reason they started coming to me. What's great is that bit, though, really improves people's cuticles. I have noticed, especially with my client who has probably the worst, and I'll try to remember to video her again, and I bet there's a video that I did out there of hers at some point. I'll have to see if I can find one from a couple years ago. She used to get just loads of just overgrowth, tons. And it would take me probably half an hour to prep her. And when I started using the bit, we'd slowly start seeing that there was less and less and less. And now she has completely normal looking cuticles, which is crazy, amazing, and awesome. And prep my file. See, Charlene's joined us. Hello, Charlene. And Delia. I don't know how you say your name properly. Everyone has all these creative names these days, like Empress Bella, Dominique. All these very fancy names, and I come from the land of Jessica. So. And do you want much length taken off or keep them long?
No, that's fine. Just leave it.
Leave it. So we're just going to reshape. I would have probably taken length off during the e-file portion if I knew she was going to want length off, but this is actually still a little bit short for her right now. She's growing them back out after quarantine, I think. Yeah. So even though I used my bit to prep, as you'll see with this file, I'm still going around the cuticle and getting a really good prep. It is essential. If you want your nails to stick really, really well, you need to prep properly. I'm not going to be using any primers on her. I'm not going to be using anything like that, just Trinity. And in order for it to stick well, you need to make sure you're prepping well. And this is how I'm prepping. So even though I got underneath that cuticle, I'm still going to go through and make sure that this is all completely prepped. There's no smooth spots of regrowth and that it's blended into what grew out for the last month. So this is where her grow out line was. And I'm just going to make sure everything is blended and thinned out. Looking down the barrel, I want it to be quite thin. It should be not thick at all. So you're going to be removing your bulk if you have any, because when you reapply your next layer of gel, if you haven't removed some of that bulk, you're just going to be adding bulk to bulk, and you don't want to end up with thick nails. You want your nails to be thin because they're going to be strong without having to be thick. So I'll show you when I finish this client how thin this extension portion is. I was just about to start the notebook, and then I'm like, oh, I should probably video. Anna has such nice nails. I did say your name right. Thanks. Awesome. Your boyfriend gets loads of overgrown cuticles. You should try the bit on him. It's life-changing for people that gets really thick overgrown cuticles. It is really amazing, and I'm so impressed on how it's changed people's cuticle growth. You wouldn't think that a bit would change it long term, but it really does. Okay, let me show you real quick. If you look at the thinness, see how thin her nails are right here? You guys, there's not much gel on here at all. You want to keep these very, very thin. And when you apply your thin layer of Trinity, you're going to be applying a very thin layer. So you don't need a lot of bulk onto the nail to give it a nice finish. Okay, again, I'm using the 180 side of my file, and I'm going around the cuticle. These are shaped this way so that it goes around the cuticle and it gets into that corner there. That is why these files are shaped this way. So you need to use them for what they're shaped for and make sure you're prepping properly. Okay. It down. Did you see my pictures from the Corn Palace?
Yes.
Who knew such a place existed?
I know.
We were actually driving through. This is in South Dakota, people. We were driving through. My husband's like, there's this place I remember going by once, and it's a palace made of corn. I'm like, yeah, right. And he's like, no, it is. So I start looking it up, and we had stopped by, I think we had already gone to Mount Rushmore, actually, and they gave us, no, maybe we hadn't gone much. We had picked up at a gas station, like, a book on South Dakota, and it had in it the things to do in South Dakota. Let me tell you how small the book was, right? So we're looking through and reading about, you know, Crazy Horse and Mount Rushmore, and inside of it was all about the Corn Palace. And I was like, alrighty then, we will read about the Corn Palace. So I read about it and I thought it was so funny. And then my husband loves Taco John's. For those of you who live here in Seattle or down, like, you know, where I'm from, there was no Taco John's. But you head towards the Midwest and there's Taco John's. And it is his favorite fast food place. To the point where once we're in, like, Montana at the first one, he's like, let's go, Taco John's. You know, like, he's a total nerd about it. So we will go hit Taco John's. So it was dinner time. Because we normally eat lunch on the road. So it was around dinner time, and I was like, what do you want? And he's like, Taco John's. I'm like, all right. So I pull it up, and I had already just looked at the map of where the Corn Palace was. I'm like, oh, it's right next to the Corn Palace. He's like, we're going. So he was all excited to go park and go check out the Corn Palace. And it's pretty amazing. It's very interesting. And, yeah, so we enjoyed our little visit to the Corn Palace. And it's just an event center now. So, you know, if they had dorms, I could have nail camp there.
Oh, there you go.
I don't think they have dorms. But that would be pretty funny to be like, hey, nail camp at the Corn Palace. Next year, this will be new information for many of you, but next year there will be only one nail camp. So this year and last year I did two. I did an East and a West, but of course the East Coast one got moved to August and West is in October. So they're both in the fall right now, and I want to be able to spread them back out, but it's too soon to do one on the East Coast in the spring. I'm just going to wait. So instead of two next year, we're doing one very central, probably Texas. So now you've heard it live. In early fall, so September, October. I just have to get confirmation on the location and stuff that I'm looking at. And so there'll be just one next year, and then 2022 I'll go back to having two in two different locations farther on the coast. But it'll just be one next year. So if you're hearing that and you live near Maryland and you're like, oh, I should go to the one this year, you can. I still have very few spots left. I've already ordered t-shirts, but I always order a couple of every size extra. So you can, if you really, really want to, still get into Maryland. All right. So after all of that is prepped, I took a wipe and I've got a bunch of nail prep on it, and I'm just going to make sure I'm scrubbing just the nail. Mostly the new growth is the most important area. You don't want to be taking your wipe and doing this all over the finger, because if you do that, you're going to be pulling oils onto the nail bed, and you don't want to pull oils down. So you just want to give the nail a really good scrub right onto the nail plate. And that's going to be your dehydrator. So, you know, instead of having to use multiple primers and stuff, just use good nail prep, give it a really good wipe. All right. Oh, hello, darling Carrie. All right, so I'm going to use Trinity Clear. We've got the colors out as well, which have been great. Maybe I'll use one of the colors on you, because then people can see it a little better. So I will go ahead. I'll switch to Trinity Warm. They're the same formulas in the sense they both have bonding gel, build, and top gloss in it. So you could do it as one coat if you want. But I'm using my 106 flat brush. It's really important that it's a flat brush, because if it focuses properly, you can see that there's no belly of the brush, and your gel's going to glide over the top if you're holding it flat on the nail, which is essential. So I'm pillowing it towards the cuticle, leaving about a 1 week of growth. You don't want to touch the cuticle or it'll flood it. Once I cover from cuticle to cuticle, I'm keeping my brush flat and I'm just gliding over the surface of the nail. If there's anything I need in a certain spot, I'm just going to go ahead and push it up and pull it down. I always come along the front and brush down off the front because it always tends to pool at the front of the nail, and I don't want a bulky bubble. So if you look at the line of light, it's perfectly smooth. I'm going to go in for 2 seconds. 1, 2, and come out. That's going to prevent any heat spike, and it's going to set the product so it's not going to run on you. That is all. It's very simple. A lot of people go too long, and they're like, oh, it gets hot, or they go, you know, and they try to do 4 nails at once, and they're like, oh, it runs everywhere, which is what I had to learn this process, because if you watch my older videos, I used natural all the time. I could do all 5 nails. I loved it. But there's a lot more steps with natural. Primers and bonding gels and stuff like that, they're all necessary. Whereas with Trinity, you don't need any of that. So it's definitely awesome in that sense. Do I still use natural? Absolutely. Anytime I build a new nail, if I'm building it really anything past the free edge, I'll use natural to make my extension because it's harder. It's a harder gel, and I like having a harder gel for a new extension. So I definitely will still use natural. Get a little bit more on this one. This nail tilts a little bit, so you have to kind of work with it to get it to have the best shape that you can work into it. Again, I'm just going to pull anything off the tip. And it's all about having a light touch. If you're pushing around too hard or playing with this too much, that's when you make a mess. 1, 2. But it doesn't take long to train your clients. Most of them should be able to count to 2. It's just how fast they count to 2. And sometimes I have to tell them, slow that 2 down, because I'll be like, 1, 2, and then come out. Well, they do that, and then it doesn't set, and then I end up with gel in the cuticle, which is no bueno. So if you count with them the first time, then they know the speed at which their 1, 2 should be going. It's a little piece of speck of something. Okay. 1, 2. And the last one. So it's nice with these coverage pinks because you can really see what it is you're doing. And just in case you're wondering, I'm using SW1, which is the warm one. I was using the neutral for a long time, but I already ran out. So now I'm using the warm one. They're all nice. I have a client who absolutely adores the new pink one. It's so pinky pink. She loves pinky pink. And then we still cover it up with pink for her. She wears French always. Always, always, always. But she likes her French as pink as possible. A piece of lint. Okay. So I'm going to tell her again, 1, 2, and then come out and just let it cool for a second, just so your thumb doesn't get hot. And then after about 5-10 seconds of cooling, then you can keep it in. Two seconds. What color is that, Trinity? This is the SW1. And did I use it here? Absolutely not. I don't need to. Trinity is built with bonding gel in it, and it works unbelievably well. It's got just the perfect flexibility. And so, no, you don't need it here. I prepped. I wiped with my prep and wipe, or nail prep, and went straight to Trinity. That's all you need to do. Our chemists have worked hard to make life easier for you all. And it is interesting sometimes when I talk to people and they're like, so I'm doing all these steps. I'm like, let's cut out like 6 of those steps and then see how you do. Because a lot of time, you don't need it all. And, you know, people will use a Fix-It, for example, but they'll use an old bottle of a Fix-It. Well, if you use an old bottle of a Fix-It and it's gotten contaminated, I can tell you from experience, all your nails are going to come off. It's a disaster. does it help in this instance? I haven't found it to help because I don't really get any lifting with Trinity. I get a lot of just amazing results. In the 20 years I've been doing nails, this is just doing this process I'm doing right now is giving me the least amount of lifting of any process I've ever done. So, and I'm all about not working too hard. So, however that is meant to be, typically it means clients having the best quality nails that they can have and doing. What product would I use for Overland long curved nails? So if they already have a natural nail there, I'll use Trinity. I might use it in 2 steps and get an arch in the middle of the nail first and then do the whole rest of the nail for the second step. If I need to extend the nail, however, I'll use Trinity and natural because I like to extend with natural. I like a harder gel for the extension. But for an overlay, just for filling and overlaying, if you already have a natural nail on there, you don't need anything harder. Trinity works great. So, scooch that over. Grab a little bit more. And like I said, it's all about having a gentle touch. A lot of people are still spending a ton of time finish filing. And if you learn to control your product and treat it like a gloss, do you see how I'm using it almost like a gloss? I'm really floating on top of the gel. You don't need to be doing a ton of finish filing. If you want a little bit of shape, just like that one, I wanted a little bit more shape in there. You can string it on after you've covered the whole nail. I want to make sure the tip is thin. And that's it. And then go straight in the light. It'll self-level itself into place for you, which is great. Use Trinity, but had some cracking. I have not seen Trinity crack at all. That's really interesting. I've never seen it. Traction. Sorry for my squeaky chair. Cracking with Trinity. Trinity is really flexible. My guess would be you need some more arch in there. I would do 1 coat towards the center of the nail, just build an arch, let it level a little bit, but you want your arch to stay like an egg in the middle of the nail, and then do the second coat covering the whole nail just like I did. So you can get a little bit more of a shape. Do you see how she has a nice shape in there? You can create that just by the way you're floating on the product, the way that I just did. But if you have a nail that needs more chutzpah, then I would go with getting an arch in there first. So, color, you're wondering what I'm using. Attraction. This was the color she chose right before we started. There's a little bit of Trinity there. That's fine. That will file when we finish. Oh, you can use the other hand. Yeah, go ahead. She's trying to use her nose to...
Sorry, I'm trying to use a nose. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. This is real world nails in real time on real clients with real jobs that bug them in the middle of a nail appointment.
My husband already knows, don't bug me during this time.
I always tell people, I'm like, tell them you're at the onyxologist. If it's a man that you work for, they will never ask you what it is, because the word starts with an O, and they know anything that starts with an O is about lady stuff, and they don't want to know.
Yep.
So I always find that pretty funny. All right, I'm going to take my wipe that has some color on it. Can't wait to get to the new colors. I believe I already shipped yours, so you must be getting it today. So I'm just going to blend this up very simply. It doesn't need to be super extreme blending. I'm going to be putting glitter on this. She's doing a classic Jess glitter fade. Old school, my original artsy fartsy glitter fade that I've been doing forever. Back before, I don't know if anyone watching this has been around as long as I've been doing the booths with accents, but when we first started doing accents booths at trade shows, there was no glitter gels at all, and accents was like, they swore off glitter, like, we're never doing glitter. They're like, can you imagine our lab with glitter getting out and getting on everything? And they were scared to do glitter. So I still have it. I wonder where it is. I bet it's in one of my drawers behind me. Like a bead container. You know, like the bead containers that are like that big and each part kind of pops open. And I would mix glitter and gel into each little compartment. So when I would go to the show, I would have glitter gels to be able to do these fades with. And I bet if I found it, the gel is still liquid because it doesn't dry out. I've checked a couple times here and there when I've talked about it. It's hilarious. But then they came out with the Aurora gels, and I was on heaven because I didn't have to mix anymore. So I haven't used it since we started coming out with those. I could use some more, though. I'd like an Aurora red would be nice. A dark Aurora blue, because our blue is kind of a lighter blue. It would be nice to have a darker Aurora blue. But when you have purple, this looks really pretty with pink or purple or with blue. What, or silver or gold or pearl. What one would you like today?
Oh, snap. I make decisions.
So many choices.
You know me in pink.
Pink. Pink it is. But see how nicely the coverage Trinity looks underneath this fade, even just by itself. You could do 2 coats of this color, top it with an effects pink, and you'd be good to go. But today she wants some chunky pink, so we're going to go all out.
I do glitter.
All out for the glitter. Snap, crackle, pop. My wrist has been popping a lot lately. It's very weird. Mostly I feel like it's when I'm typing on my computer and then I like move it and it'll
start popping
snap. Yeah.
My mom says it's age. I don't like when she tells me that too.
Everything's age.
Everything's age. Yes.
Age, schmage. But I was up pretty late last night. I'm trying to get some more nail camp shirts. I get people every year asking for more different colors or styles, so been working on that so that we have some tank tops and some different options because we'll be in Maryland where it will be hot.
Yes.
And so there'll be some different options for people this year. Larissa is going to be there, so she's going to run the nail camp store because we have beanies. She said, as long as I can wear a beanie the whole time. And I said, yes, she can wear a beanie the whole time. I'm like, you know, it's summer. She goes, I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
She's a teenager.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks cute on her, so I'll, you know, at least she doesn't look super silly other than the fact that it is
It's advertising.
80 degrees outside, but, you know, it'll be a lot hotter there for sure, but we'll be inside the whole time. I mean, our entire facility, including classes and the dorms and everything, is in the same building, so we can get there on Saturday and not leave until Thursday, technically, without even going outside if we don't want to. So I tell people, I'm like, yeah, we're going and we're quarantining together for 5 days. Everyone gets their temp checked, and we will be locked in, which will be fun.
So how did you get 9 bags of popcorn?
10.
Oh, 10.
So I do a lot of shipping, and I kept running out of packing peanuts. And I used to have someone that I had found off of a community page that used to bring me a couple of bags every couple of weeks, like big black garbage bags. It was terrific, so I could recycle the packing peanuts. And when all the COVID crap hit, she wasn't working at the office anymore. And so I asked her, now that everyone's back to work, I'm like, hey, can you check and see if there's any packing peanuts? Well, apparently whatever the business is that they get their product from, they all change their packing over this course of time. And so she has no packing peanuts. So I'm like, all right, I need to buy packing peanuts. So I went online and I bought some, but it was going to be like 2 weeks when it came in. And of course, then you can't cancel it after you order. So I'm like, all right, well, I need them like in 2 days. So went on Uline. Uline has them, but it was like $75 shipping for a bag. And I'm like, I'm like, well, what if I order like 5 bags? And it was still $75 shipping. I'm like, oh, it's a freight cost. All right. So I went ahead already on my desk. So I'm like, well, what if I ordered 10 bags? And it was still the same cost. It was like, all right, I'll just order 10 bags because then it's like $7.50 per bag in shipping, but it'll be here in 2 days. And they come in and the guy pulls up, looking for my spatula. It always sinks to the bottom of my brush drawer, I swear, every time. Here it is. You always want to give your sparkles a stir. You can see there's a little bit of clear on the top, so you always wanted to give a stir. Now, when you do this, if you feel like it's not fluid enough for you, like it's really stiff and sticky, add some options clear. Just take a good dollop and add it in there and give it a good mix. And that will allow you to give a nice fade again. Because if you don't do that, sometimes you don't end up with a nice fade. All right, I'm going to switch brushes with one that is been used for glitter, so that my one that I'm using for fills doesn't get full of glitter. But see how what happens after you use a glitter and stuff for a while? The bristles start to get stiff. So you want to keep your glitter brush separate from the one you're doing your fills with. Angie asked, do I use a gel polisher to shake my gel polishes? I have one. I don't use it a whole heck of a lot. I just pound it on my fist. If it's a brand new bottle, I might flip it upside down on there and let it just sit in there and shake a little bit, but I'm still going to have to pound it because I don't feel like they actually shake it good enough for me. So anyway, so I was saying, so the truck pulls up and I could see out of my peripheral vision, you know, that this truck pulls up, and I was like, what is that? And I look over and there's like clouds like being flying out of the back of the truck because these bags are, let me tell you how tall these bags are, people. They're over 5 feet tall. And so there's 10 of these 5 foot tall clouds being chucked out of the back of this truck. And the guy's like, so I come out and he's like, you got it? And I'm like, yeah, pretty sure I can carry these. And he's like, all right. So I open the garage and I chuck them all in the garage, and I videotaped Larissa because I was like, hey, Larissa, when she came down that day, I'm like, hey, Larissa, there's some packing peanuts in the garage. Can you go put them upstairs? Dad's going to put them in the attic. She's like, okay. It's like the whole garage is filled.
Yep, all peanuts.
All peanuts. It was hilarious. But hey, now I will not run out of packing peanuts for orders for a while.
Yeah.
It's essential. It's like you can't run out of those and you can't run out of boxes. So it's just kind of one of those things you gotta keep up with.
Have you even used one or not yet? Like completed one?
One bag?
One bag?
No, I haven't had to open them yet because the next day I had posted on a community board, hey, does anyone have packing peanuts? And I put it on Craigslist, does anyone have packing peanuts? So someone's like, I have 2 garbage bags full of packing peanuts. So I text Jared, hey, on the way home, which wasn't really on the way home. It was in Lake Stevens, so he had to drive 45 minutes out of his way. I'm like, can you pick up these packing peanuts? Because I still had another day till my clouds were delivered. So I went and picked them up. So I'm working through those 2 bags first before I can touch the clouds. So, yeah, funny. So this is Aurora Pink. It's one of the very first Auroras that came out, and it's gorgeous. The reason I like to use Auroras for phase is because they have 3 sizes of sparkle. And as I pull it down, I can kind of push up the chunky sparkle and keep it more in the middle of the nail, and pull the finer sparkle down towards the bottom. So it allows you to have a little bit nicer of an ombre effect. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. And it's very simple. But like I said, if you have a jar of Aurora and you feel like you're not able to move it as easily as I am here, grab some options clear and just do a nice good dollop in there and give it a good stir. I do that on these now and then because it's just the way that it works. Even as you're using it, some of the glitter is sinking down to the bottom of the pot, and it will get thicker viscosity and harder to fade when it gets too thick. So having a little bit of options clear on hand to do such a thing is awesome. And this is not, it also makes it smoother so that you can just use your regular top gloss. If it's also really, really chunky, or maybe you're dabbing a chunkier glitter into it, you're going to need a slightly thicker viscosity gloss if you don't want to have to finish file a rough nail when you're done. And Options Clear is perfect for that too, because it's got gloss built right in. So you can just use that on the whole nail as your gloss. The thicker viscosity will cover up any bumps. But because I have the Options Clear in this one and it's a little bit thinner viscosity, it's smoothing out, as you can see, smoothing out really well all by itself. So just a regular gloss is going to be fine. So yeah, for you that might be watching me on YouTube a little bit later, if you haven't watched before, subscribe. But that way you can watch my newest videos, because I do change, change products or introduce new products or even change the way I do things. Trinity came out and I didn't really use it much for the first year, 2 years that it was out, because it's a really runny gel and I've never been a big fan of the runnier gels. But when I found out that they were discontinuing the UV gels, which is natural, that I've been using for like almost 20 years, I was like, all right, I'll try Trinity again. And I discovered that if I do it the way I just showed you, which is flash curing after every single nail for 2 seconds, it doesn't get hot, and I have just amazing results with just the least amount of lifting I've ever had in my career. So I highly recommend doing that for your clients. My nails are sad. I know they're still 4th of July nails because I'm procrastinating doing them. I need to do them before I go to camp, and so I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do. I might use the new Trist and another, maybe Trist and Brazen, and kind of do a combination of turquoise, because turquoise is our kind of theme color this year. But I have to decide what it is I want to do. I don't know yet. Although Madison Jones, I don't know if you're watching this, but her nails in the last few days have been gorgeous, and part of me is like, I'll just wait till I get to camp and have her do my nails. But that's bad. I must do my nails so that they're not so grown out and sad. Alright, after you've played with your glitter as much as you want, take another gander, double check. Just want to make sure there's not a straight line there. I'm big about making sure there's no straight lines. I don't want to glance at it from this perspective and see a straight line anywhere. And that's what you're trying to hide. If you don't see any straight lines, you're going to be good. Stephanie hasn't gotten on the train. Stephanie, you know how much I do not like runny gels. And if I can jump on that wagon, girl, you can too. That's all I got to say. Because it works amazingly well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead with my Luxio Gloss, my handy dandy. My favorite. It's almost out, so I'm digging the bottom of the barrel. And what I normally will do is put one that's almost out aside and get a new one out, and then about halfway through that bottle I'll combine them, so you don't have to waste your products. So looking down the barrel, I see one little speck here. I don't know if it's a lint or glitter, but I'm going to use my nippers and get it out. I think it was a glitter. And that way we get a perfect finish. And because I was messing with it, it's already starting to run in the cuticle just a smidge. So I'm going to flash cure this, just 2 seconds. Okay. And that'll keep your gloss from running. So if you're using a little bit more gloss on the nail because of glitter or for whatever reason, you can always flash cure between. It does not take more than a second, and it allows you to make sure that everything is exactly as you want it. So I'm filling in, using my gloss, any little bumps around the glitter that I might see in my line of light. So because I'm doing that, I will flash this nail as well. Flash, it just gets it to stay where it wants to be, and you don't have to worry about it running into the cuticle or losing that shape that you just put into the nail, it'll just freeze it in place so that it's perfect when you're done. And that one I didn't really do a lot on, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to this one. Really just depends on how much extra gel I'm kind of dabbing into places, whether I will freeze it in between or not. But this one, there's a little bit of glitter bumpiness, so I just want to make sure it's totally smooth all the way around. Double check this one. Flash cure. 1, 2. And then once the thumb is done, it can do a final full cure. But you guys can see a little bit in the line of light, the bumpiness. So with her thumb, I'm going to have her do her thumb up in the light. So she's going to be grabbing the bottom of the lamp. And that way her thumb doesn't tilt at all when it goes in, and that allows my top coat to stay exactly where I put it while it flash cures. And she only needs to do that for about 2 seconds, and then she can put the whole hand all the way in. Oh, hair stuck. And let the whole hand keep curing. But that just makes it so that your finished product is perfect. There's a little bump here. Beautiful. I like this combination, it's pretty. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let those flash for 2 seconds. That's it. I just don't like chasing product out of the cuticle. I hate when people have their nails done and I look at a picture and all I see is globs of product in the cuticle. And the quick way to keep that from happening is to just flash cure for 2 seconds, and it will not do that on you. So if I can keep it from going in the cuticle, I will. It still happens sometimes. You will find me on videos where I'm probably cursing under my breath because the, the product moved into the cuticle and I have to get it out. But you can't leave it. You leave product in the cuticle, you're going to get lifting. So it's part of the process. Okay, do your thumb up for 2 seconds on that. And then you can put your whole hand in. All right. Nice and shiny. And then I'm just going to finish my edges. So I always come in underneath, along the front at an angle, and around the sides. This is to make sure that no gloss has done anything. It's also a good time that if you need to do a little bit to remove the sharp edges for your clients on the corners, this is a good time to do that. But just coming up from underneath and get it totally smooth. Ignore that, it's UPS. They can wait. I hear my daughter clopping down the hallway. So then you're going to use your sanding band, and you just want to make sure you're coming in at an angle and removing any product right here at the angle, and that is good. Yeah. I'm in the middle of a video. Go ahead and take a seat. All right, and then we're just going to drop some oil on these. This is the Luxio oil, which comes in a dropper, and this one is white something. White limetta and aloe vera. So it's a lovely one. So you want to rub that in. One of the reasons people always ask me, why do I why do I rub the oil into the nail at the end? And that is because back forever ago when I didn't, sometimes people would get their nails done, I'd wipe off the tacky, they'd go wash, and they'd come back and go, this one doesn't look shiny. And it's because there would still be some residual gel left on the last nail because you've been using a wipe on all 10 nails, and there's now residual gel on the wipe, and that gets on the last nail and doesn't come off completely, etc., etc. So that allows you to finally have a finished nail, and you don't have to worry about did you get every little bit off and someone doesn't think their nails are complete. It also helps rehydrate their cuticles, and it doesn't look so dry and dusty because after you've been using tons of alcohol on them, their poor fingers are going to look all dry and dusty. So it does a couple of different jobs. Again, go ahead and take your E-file, come in at an angle under the nail, and just zip to finish it. This will thin out the nail. It also removes some of the natural nail, and on the corners, that's really essential because if you don't remove some of that natural nail, that is what gets hard and brittle and curls under, and that's when your clients will get separation from their, you remember that? Separation from their nail to their gel. So if you remove that, it will prevent that curling from happening, and you're not going to have that separation. So your clients will have their nails not separating, and they can go all the time they need. All right, there we go, ladies. I hope you all enjoy this, and gentlemen, if there's any guys watching. And we will catch you next time.